Well, our radius forecast has been going on for 11 years, and it started in the basement of a local hotel with about 40 clients that we invited to that event. And it was so well attended that we expanded it little by little every year, and eventually expanded to the Hilton, where we had 400 people here today. We have a pretty sophisticated group of clients here. So they want to hear about Santa Barbara real estate, they want to hear about what's going on here specifically, and that's what Radius provides. But they also want to know or get a glimpse of to what the local and national economies look like for the future.
Well, I've been coming to these Radius events for 11 years. It's a unique event. I go to the UCSB economic forecast, which is excellent, but this really tailors to my industry, and it gives me great benefit as I make decisions in my business, how to lease property, buy, sell. I feel like I'm an educated participant in the market. I don't know anybody else that does this in any other market. I know people all over the country, and I think it's super valuable, and I feel fortunate to be a Radius client.
Over the last 12 months, we've seen property owners really get rewarded for investing in their assets. If someone had an older office building and they added a bunch of glass, exposed the ceiling, made it a cool, nice environment, those owners have been rewarded with tenants. On the other side, if an owner has an older building, maybe it has less natural light, lower ceilings, we've seen those lease rates soften. So I think pride in an asset is something I tell landlords a lot, that if I drive into a building, the parking lot's clean, the common restrooms are clean, tenants take note, and they then have pride in that asset. So I think renovated buildings and people who keep their property in good shape matters more than it did 24 months ago.
Realistically, you look at the national level, and while there are some stressors, none of those stressors would rise to what I would call the point of recession causing. You have some trade issues, but those have been limited mainly to China at this point in time. We're dealing with rising interest rates, but again, from a long-term standpoint, they're pretty low. Housing market is steady, consumers look pretty good, earnings are going up. In fact, for the most part, the economy looks pretty good. So I don't think that Santa Barbara has to worry about the national economy. What Santa Barbara has to worry about is the local housing market. You know, there's been a big slowdown in growth in California, and of course a lot here in the Central Coast, including Santa Barbara. The slowdown is being driven by the fact that we're running out of available workers. If you take a look at unemployment rates, say here in Santa Barbara, they are below 4% right now. That's close to the lowest they've ever been. The biggest struggle any employer has right now is filling positions in their company. One of the results of that, of course, is just simply overall less growth. How do you fix that? Well, the answer is more housing. Now, the housing issue is starting to become not just what I would call a drag on growth, but of course, when you think about the fires and all the housing that's been destroyed, it could at some level start reaching a crisis proportion. Realistically, this state has to invest in the construction of a lot more housing. And they need to get to the fundamentals as to why we don't build that housing in the first place, as opposed to pretending that we can subsidize housing to fix this particular problem.